Last week, OpenAI closed the largest private funding round in human history, $110 billion and a $730 billion valuation, backed by Amazon, Nvidia, and SoftBank. 3 days later, a tiny Chinese model built by Alibaba that fits on a laptop humiliated OpenAI's biggest open model on benchmark after benchmark. And then, all of a sudden, the engineer who built it was fired. I promise you, the $110 billion is the least interesting part of this story. On March 2nd, just 3 days after OpenAI's funding round closed, Alibaba posted a model card on Hugging Face called Qwen 3.5. Now, OpenAI has its own open source model, 120 billion parameters, and it is by any reasonable measure a serious piece of engineering. But Alibaba's new model has just 9 billion parameters, 13 times fewer. And on GPQA Diamond, a benchmark of graduate-level science reasoning across biology, chemistry, and physics, the tiny 9 billion parameter model beat the giant, 81.7 to 80.1. On competition-level math, it won by a wider margin. On multimodal reasoning, it wasn't even close. So, how does a model 13 times smaller beat one of the most well-resourced open models on Earth? Well, here's where it gets a little weird. 2 weeks before Qwen 3.5 dropped, Anthropic filed a complaint accusing 3 Chinese labs of using 24,000 fake accounts to run 16 million queries through Claude. According to Anthropic, they were systematically targeting agentic reasoning, tool use, and coding, the specific things Claude does best. OpenAI went to Congress the same week with the same accusation about DeepSeek. Now, this raises the question, if you spent months systematically feeding a model the best outputs of the most capable AI on Earth, 16 million examples of exactly what world-class reasoning looks like, and then you released a model that beats that same AI at its own game despite being 13 times smaller, is that a Chinese engineering breakthrough, or is it American engineering wearing a fake mustache? But I mean, honestly, whether they stole it or not almost doesn't even matter. Because the reason the $110 billion bet is in trouble is not because the benchmark results. It's what this model costs to run, which is nothing. OpenAI's entire economic logic rests on the assumption that you need their infrastructure to access frontier-level AI. The API, the data centers, the compute, you pay for all of it, every time. That is what justifies the ridiculous valuations they get. Qwen 3.5 is designed from the ground up to throw that assumption off of a bridge. With Qwen, you download the weights, you run it on your own machine, no API bill, no usage cap, no data leaving your server, $0. It's a brave new world. Now, beyond the potential theft, which who knows if that's even true, Qwen 3.5 is running on a fundamentally different architecture, and the way they pulled that off is pretty insane. Think about it this way. A normal model is like a chef who has memorized every recipe on Earth, and every time you order a dish, runs through all of them in his head to find the right one. The bigger the model, the more recipes, the more thinking, the more it costs every single time you ask it anything. Qwen 3.5 works differently. Instead of one chef who knows everything, you have 400 specialists. You order sushi and the Japanese food expert wakes up and everyone else stays put. You get the full depth of 400 experts, but you're only paying to run 17 at any given moment. That's why a 9 billion parameter model can go toe-to-toe with one 13 times its size, and why it costs nothing to run. But this is what really breaks your brain about this. This thing runs on just 4 gigabytes of RAM. 4 gigabytes. That's a 2015 laptop, a machine you can buy used on eBay for $50. We've spent the last 3 years being told that frontier AI requires data centers, specialized chips, hundreds of millions in infrastructure. Alibaba just released a model that runs on hardware that most people have in a drawer somewhere, which makes what happened next so strange. Because the person who built it, the engineer who took Qwen from a lab project to the most downloaded open source model family on Earth, just disappeared. His name is Junyang Lin. He joined Alibaba as a researcher and spent years steering every major decision that went into Qwen. The architecture, the training, the releases, 600 million downloads. That's all his work. 3 days after Qwen 3.5 dropped, though, he was gone. A colleague posted about it publicly saying, "I know that leaving wasn't your choice." Now, Alibaba hasn't said much. What we know is that the team that he built, the one that just embarrassed OpenAI on 3 benchmarks, has been broken up and absorbed into the broader corporate structure. The startup energy that produced this model has been pretty much snuffed out. But I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter. The code is already out there, the weights are already downloaded, you can't unrelease an Apache license. Zhenyang Lin is gone, but Qwen 3.5 is not. In fact, the next one is already coming. DeepSeek v4 is reportedly dropping within weeks, and the thing everyone's talking about is that it's set to be built on Chinese chips, not NVIDIA. In other words, hardware that US export controls can't touch. That basically means that the entire American strategy for slowing down Chinese AI is about to collapse. Chip sanctions have been all about restricting access to the best hardware, which restricts access to the best models. It's been the one lever that Washington has actually had, but now DeepSeek v4 is being engineered specifically to not need that hardware. So if Qwen 3.5 solved the cost problem, DeepSeek v4 is solving the sanctions problem. In short, this could be a real kick in the nuts for the US. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, okay, but American companies can't use any of this. And you're right, the security concerns around Chinese AI models are real and they are documented. In fact, DeepSeek responds to nearly 94% of malicious requests under standard jailbreaking techniques. To put that in plain English, ask DeepSeek to help you do something dangerous, give it just a light push, and 9 times out of 10, it will. The US government is moving to ban it on federal devices and enterprise security teams won't touch it. But it's a trap to think that this is bad for DeepSeek, because here's what nobody's really talking about. American companies can't use Chinese models. Fine. So where's the American open source alternative? Because OpenAI isn't building one. They just raised $110 billion to build closed models that you access through an API and pay for by the token. Meta has Llama, which is good, but it's falling behind. And there's no American answer to what Alibaba just released. Not yet. Which means the rest of the world, developers in Europe, India, Southeast Asia, Latin America, just got state-of-the-art AI for free with no security constraints and no political complications. They're not waiting for OpenAI's next API release, they are just downloading the weights and building now. Now, OpenAI and Anthropic aren't going bankrupt, Sam Altman isn't panicking, the closed frontier still leads on the hardest tasks, and that's not going to change tomorrow. But the assumption that funded this latest record-breaking round, that you can just build a wall around the best AI and make the whole world pay for it, just cracked. And the price war between open and closed is only getting started. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.